What's going on, everybody? Good morning. It is Victory Monday, so happy Victory Monday. Haven't had one of these in a couple weeks, so nice to get back to the winning circle. And there's a lot to talk about after what happened yesterday, and most of it is happy stuff, but I want to start with the biggest thing that I think happened yesterday. Of all the things that came into play with the Seahawks winning that game against Jacksonville, I think that the biggest piece was the pass rush, especially because of what we saw the previous week, where that pass rush was basically MIA. There was no pass rush to speak of for most of that game against Tampa Bay, and that's a big reason why we lost. Well, the pass rush was back this week, and given some of the concern about this defense and maybe Mike Macdonald even, that was very needed. 60 seconds, be right back. All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you guys about Sleeper. I'll tell you a little secret as well. It's more than just a platform for fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users have enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but there's so much more to it. You have live stats, real-time updates of all stats. You have a news feed with lightning-fast updates on players and teams, and a real-time chat where you can engage with other users about plays, performances, games, all kinds of stuff during the sports season. So download Sleeper, experience it for yourself, and don't forget to use my promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit, and pair that with their new promo that will give you a free $20 entry, no deposit needed. So you can use both of those promos. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and going. So check out Sleeper today and use those promos. All right, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the pass rush for the Seahawks yesterday, and then I'm going to be trying to contextualize it in a certain way that I think speaks to the tremendous abilities and the tremendous wisdom of Coach Mike Macdonald. Because one thing that happened last week when we played Tampa and the pass rush was non-existent is that people wondered, where's the blitzing? When are you going to start sending some real pressure at these quarterbacks? When are you going to try to do something exotic? When are you going to try to stack things up and really just go aggressively, especially in a game where you know you're not going to have Derek Hall? You've got these injuries in the secondary. Where's the all-out blitzes? Where's the risking it, trying to get to the quarterback? Where is all that? So let's just start with the top-line numbers here. According to Pro Football Focus, and we'll talk more about them later, the Seahawks defense versus Jacksonville had a total of 7 sacks, which we knew that, but according to PFF, they had 33 pressures. We'll check to see if they still believe that later today when we look at the Pro Football Focus grading pages, but 33 pressures in a game. For reference, last week I believe they gave us 12, and in the previous couple games against Arizona and I think it was New Orleans, they gave us like 23, 24, something like that. So significant uptick. Nemhauser here had this from ESPN. So this isn't PFF. This is it's StatHead, but it's through ESPN. According to those sources, the Seahawks had 17 quarterback hits in that game, which is a franchise record. And the record that they previously had, according to StatHead, was 11 in 2018 versus Frisco. Now, I don't know how far back StatHead goes, probably not super long, but I imagine you're looking at least a decade, probably more. Generally speaking, I find that this stuff tends to start back in like 2010, 2011. So 17 quarterback hits is by a wide margin a franchise record, if that's the case, at least over the last 10, 15 years. And I mean, we've had some pretty good pass rushes over the last 10, 15 years. We've had Super Bowl winning pass rushes. We've had number 1 defense in the league pass rushes. And according to StatHead, this is the most violence they have committed against an opposing quarterback since they started keeping track. And we'll see if ESPN corrects this, but I don't think they're going to correct it by such a wide margin that 17 shrinks to below 11. Seahawks today had this tweet with data from ESPN. Trevor Lawrence faced more pressure from the Seahawks defense today than any other quarterback has faced in a single game this season. That's from ESPN. And not only is it more pressure than any quarterback has faced this season, you actually have to go back to, according to Michael DeRocco here, you have to go back to 2022 to find a quarterback that was pressured more than Trevor Lawrence was pressured yesterday. 27 pressures is matched only, or beaten actually, by the Titans 2022 Week 9 against Pat Mahomes when they play the Chiefs. So you got to go back almost 3 years to find a game where there was even somewhat of an equivalency. So that also speaks to the effectiveness of this pass rush in this game. We got more from Nemhauser here, and he speaks to how good Jacksonville's pass protection has been so far this year. Jacksonville's offense, through the first 5 games of their season, allowed a pressure rate of 23.9, the third lowest in the NFL. So there were very few teams out there doing a better job of keeping their quarterback clean than Jacksonville. And Seattle more than doubled his average pressure rate in this game from over the first 5 games. So this was not, oh, we're playing against a papier-mâché offensive line you can just beat up on. No. This, if anything, they should get extra credit for doing it against this team. Liam Cohen understands how to get the ball out of a quarterback's hands quickly, and that knowledge did not help him this week at all. And just to illustrate the main source of this pressure, to really quickly kind of bring it back to one person specifically, Byron Murphy had 7 pressures according to ESPN today. Now we'll see what PFF has. We'll see what PFR has later this week. But 7 pressures is the most by a Seahawks since 2021. That was Carlos Dunlap against the Bears in Week 16, a game that we lost, by the way. I remember that one. So you can slice this all different kinds of ways. This was an insanely good game by the Seahawks pass rush. And unlike some other games that we've seen from this Seahawks team, or just football teams in general, we did not allow the quarterback to escape sacks after we got pressure. We actually converted our pressures into a high number of sacks. But here's the thing, and here's the reason why I really wanted to make this video, this thing right at the end here, so hopefully you stuck with me here. Per Brady Henderson, Seattle only blitzed 8 times in that game. They blitzed 8 times. Trevor Lawrence threw 42 passes in that game, got sacked 7 times, and scrambled at least once. So therefore, he dropped back to pass at least 50 times in that game, and we only blitzed 8 times. Now, Seattle has had one of the lowest blitz rates, maybe, according to some people, the lowest blitz rate of any team in the NFL through the first 5 games of the season. So it's not like this is surprising. But the point I'm trying to make is 8 blitzes on approximately 50 dropbacks is not really a departure from the blitz rate that we saw over the first 5 games. And yet, here we are. So Mike Macdonald found a way to generate historic amounts of pressure without compromising the way in which he wants to run this defense. And clearly the way in which he wants to run this defense is by not blitzing very much, because he blitzed more than this in Baltimore, and he didn't blitz that much in Baltimore, but he seems to believe that the best way forward for this defense is to just almost never blitz. I think our blitz rate is somewhere around 16-17% on the year, and it was basically about that in this game. We got 6 sacks and 20 pressures with a standard pass rush, which I believe is 4 players, the most such pressures in a game this season. Now, the ways in which he did that could merit another video all of itself. I had a couple comments on the last video I made yesterday talking about how one thing that McDonald did a really good job of was he put Leonard Williams on the end a lot and had a matchup against a tackle, and that was a matchup that Leonard Williams really feasted against. And that was a big reason why we were able to have success. So you can see the little things he's doing to still push things in his favor. And these are things that he deserves a lot of credit for. But that's exactly what I'm saying here. He found a way to do it. He found a way to prove his mettle, prove his worth, and justify his value to this team without just going out there and sending 6 guys every snap. Because clearly he believes that would just lead to more mistakes, more big plays, and ultimately losses. Because, I mean, Seattle's offense was not bad yesterday, but they only scored 20 points. If this defense gave up a bunch of big plays and a bunch of busted coverages and a bunch of beaten blitzes, they would have lost. So without compromising his strategy, McDonald found a way to live in Jacksonville's backfield. And after last week, I think that deserves tremendous credit, because a lot of people were wondering, okay, when are we going to ramp things up a little bit here? When are we going to start sending the house? When are we going to start getting aggressive? Because this is not working. And it's not going to work until you get some of your guys back in that secondary. He didn't have the guys back. Actually, the irony is, Derek Hall, who has been maybe his most effective edge rusher this season, was out. And you still didn't need to blitz very much, and you still lived in the backfield. So shout out to Mike McDonald, man. Shout out to Mike. He took the lesson of that Tampa Bay game very seriously, but he didn't necessarily turn around and do what a lot of people would have expected him to do. And you cannot say anything but it worked about as well as you could hope. Okay, see you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming soon.